not to be so depressing, but sisterhood could be beautiful, but we need to be very truthful in a sense and acknowledge that it's under attack. Point blank, period.
Mm,
There's so many women that say, "Oh, I don't get along with other women."
mm,
Mm.
Nowadays, so many women now, all of us, we got 50, 11 jobs, right? We have
yes.
so many responsibilities that pull us away from our friends and what we love. We take care of everyone, right? Whether it be our children, our parents, our partner, life partner, spouse, whatever. But I think a lot of us we get caught up in life as well, and I think we forget that sisterhood gives you sanity. Like there's
Mm,
people, your sisterhood, they pour into you. They call
yes.
you out like you're not acting like yourself, or this is not you, or you could
Mhm,
do better. You can be better. You should
mhm,
want more for yourself. Or sometimes they plant a seed in you, something that they see, right? Like, you'd be good at that, or you're doing really good at that, or you look great, or I love that lipstick. So I think that's one important thing. We have to put sisterhood as a priority, above,
mhm.
not above yourself, but right after yourself is building that tribe of sisters around you.
Yes.
100.
Yes, yes.
It's so important. It's like it was so cool when my mom was running for judge because I got to see literally her judgeship was built by her circle of female friends.
Wow.
And like when I say they held her down, I'm talking waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning every day to go outside on a corner and hold a sign that said vote for my mom for months.
Wow.
Like and like every going out and like after school and going to events to like hold up signs and pitch tents, all of this volunteer, like and Louisiana heat and Louisiana weather and like and these are older women who like aren't they ain't got that young blood, not no offense to ladies if y'all think that, but like they got some gravity pulls them a little harder, you know what I'm saying? So
Ah,
But they
it's
got good knees,
they
though. They
got
got
good
good knees.
knees.
okay.
They
Standing
got
on that
good
corner.
knees. That's right. They got good knees. But to be able to like I think that was the first time that I saw what it looked like to really have an army behind you. Not just like a cool circle of people to hang around, but like to do something with an objective of uplifting one of their sisters. And like some of that rubbed off on me just by me being in that circle, them saying such kind words and motivations and really like paying attention to me, and I was just kind of like I'm here to help, but I didn't realize how much a part of joining that group, just being in that space, I was automatically kind of accepted into that space. But you see, especially as you get older, when you see it with older women who have managed to do it, how much you really understand why communities need to respect women.
Yeah.
Like I think that was the first time that I was like, oh, we are, and we there's a reason we give birth to the planet. Like there is something that has come with that. Like we really do hold it down, and when we hold it down, the world continues to spin. And like but we have to do that with each other. Like that's the only way it works. It's like one woman can't do it, but like a tribe of women is a whole other machine, not just physically, but like the belief that black women and women in general, but especially black women can like put into you. It's a whole it's a if you could put it in a jar and sell it, I mean, you're talking like Amazon who. It's like it's amazing. It's amazing. So it's really important. If it's implemented, sisterhood is a weapon. It's a nuclear weapon, but like for good, for like beautiful things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think there's been an attack on women coming together. I think a lot of the propaganda that we've been fed would make it so that we're misaligned. We're all competing for men or women, whatever your preference are. We're just in competition with the other because we're looking at this person outside of ourselves and feeling like we have to beat them at something instead of aligning with them about something. And I feel like we're getting to the point where it's like we're seeing who we can align with and what we can build. There's a lot we can do when we have a meeting of the minds. Look at what we're doing right now. I can speak to that, what you're saying firsthand, because years and years ago, before this all became the Stylish Collective, there was Black Coffee, and there was me sitting on a windowsill in an undisclosed location. And Cherie just like, okay, so talk. Like, we're at the yoga studio and just be your fucking self. And I'm like, put. You know, it was the love of sisterhood when I was 11 and 12 years old in junior high school and wearing like a gazillion colors that Wilhern and I, it was like we just encouraged each other to be more tacky because we were just having fun. It wasn't even tacky. We were just being girls. And we didn't care what each other thought. It was like, girl, how many colors you think I'm going to wear tomorrow? Yeah, girl. 50, like 51 on Thursday. Like, we had so much fun. And that vibration just produces creativity. And that's really what women are, the masters of being creative, because we do give birth to worlds, to men, to ideas, and to abundance. We are like the physical manifestation of prosperity. And it's just a beautiful thing when we remove the idea of that we have to be against each other instead of being for each other and loving on each other without it being weird. And I'm just grateful, like really grateful to know women like the three of you, because literally you guys have carried me through all of my craziness. And I just love you. Like, I just want to show gratitude that even having this podcast has a lot to do with the fact, and audience, I'm sure that you can agree, there's some woman in your life that told you go do that crazy fucking thing that you whispered about, that you were batshit scared to do, and they were like, bitch, I did you, that'd be fabulous. And then you start to do it and you're like, oh, these bitches were so fine. Yeah. And it's beautiful. So I just love and thank all of you for being you. I just want to say that.
Right
My
back
heart.
you. Alex.
No, I mean, I completely agree. I don't even really know if I have anything else to add. All of you articulated it so beautifully. And the thing that I will say is I literally would not be where I'm at without sisterhood. And like the older I get, the more I realize like how valuable it is for me. And it's so interesting how there's so much emphasis on romantic relationships that we often aren't equipped with the same tools of like how to even value our sisterhoods and our friendships. There's so much emphasis on like you need to be like a good partner, a good wife, a good girlfriend, a good mother. But it's like, who is teaching us how to be good friends? Who is teaching us how to be like good sisters? And oftentimes I feel like it fails because we haven't been taught that it's just as valuable, if not more valuable, than other relationships in our lives. So it's like, I so value these relationships and these bonds. And I'm literally in a place where I'm like, things that I'm building for myself must include Black women. It can't actually just be about me. It's actually like, how can I create things and create spaces that include other Black women? Because I actually can't do anything but like on my own. It only works in a community of other like-minded women, you know? So I value it so much. And I wish that we were taught at an earlier age, like how to value those type of relationships that aren't necessarily romantic just as much, to pour just as much into those friendships and those relationships that we do any other relationship, because it's so important. Like it's truly essential for me. Like there are things that I'm like, oh, I can do without. That is something that I actually can't do without.
Yeah.
You know?
Agreed.
Do you ladies feel that, and speaking of romance, because this is the hotels episode, and we're going into it's you guys knew it was coming. Yes, Sip.
We're here.
We're here. We've been talking very PG-13.
That sip turned into a gulp.
Now let me get my arm charger.
So sisterhood, and we're all in agreement how important it is. But speaking of sisterhood as a juxtaposition of romance, we talk about hotels, we talk about stigma around sex, love, relationships. Where are you ladies at in terms of what dating, love, sex, and being over 29 looks like? Looks like. What does that look like for you in this time?
Don't all go at once.
Don't all speak at once.
Well, I think I would say dating after 29. You gotta be real with the list of your requirements of who you desire to be with. I think before, when I was 20, whatever, the list was so long and some of it didn't really mean much, or not as much. It doesn't have as much value as other things on that list. I think also after 29, I have to be real with myself. Like, I've made it. It's hard, but I'll say I think I've come to terms with a few things, and you guys may or may not agree that I may date someone or end up with someone who has a child. I never wanted that before. I may date someone or end up with someone who has less education than I do, like paper education, not, it's not encompasses all knowledge. Yeah, like, that's real. Like, those are a few things that in my 20s that I didn't want to entertain at all, to be honest, So I think just you start scratching some things off the list, and really concentrating on what you really want and need and what's truly important to you.
Yeah. Can I ask why you look like you was struggling trying to get that out?
I didn't want to say too much because I don't know where this podcast is going to be and who's going to see it.
Everywhere, girl. You a celebrity now. Go ahead.
This is only episode 1.
It's your game. Talk your shit, girl. Your husband might be watching.
After dark episode.
Right. It's after dark and you were drinking. So if he ever blames you, it's not your fault.
True. It's this.
It's this. It's that. Whatever.
Okay.
Ladies.
Victoria, go ahead.
We don't have to talk first. Go ahead. Come on.
Take it away.
Hey, I struggled through that response. I think y'all can struggle through and pull some words together and figure it out.
Victoria, you got the crown. Lead us. Lead us, the great queen.
Okay. Okay, so love, sex, and dating has been very interesting for me. I will speak to in my 20s being with 2 men that had children who I became extremely involved with. I've had some very serious relationships early on in my life, and I've also had some frivolous ones. I've always been the commitment type of girl. I mean, if I could have gotten married at 5, I would have. And to all you people out there listening to this who resonate with twin flame and soulmates, I'm certainly on that path, although I'm removing these constructs and probably focusing more so on saying that I am both the divine masculine and the divine feminine. I consider myself whole and complete as a twin flame, and I will align with my divine counterpart who considers themselves the same. I am in a place where I'm very specific about the fact that my husband is a cosmic being, and he's here. I believe that I'm speaking life into what's available for me, and I feel it's available for all of us. I just chalk all my experiences up to a podcast. It's like, and I was telling Will Hearn this morning, it's like my relationships were like for a future podcast. I'm actually not upset about any of them. They're like content for a book. And I'm detached from where they had me. And you ladies specifically, having met me right after a very bad breakup, very bad engagement that ended, I was completely shattered and could not see like in front of my hand without mentioning this man and without mentioning what he did and without mentioning my resentment. But it was also in the midst of my spiritual awakening. And not to make this a long answer, but I'm actually dating myself and looking forward to the courtship of my divine counterpart. I am enjoying the love of my own thoughts, and I'm enjoying the love of my sisterhood, and actually celebrating my sexuality without being sexual. It's a very empowering experience that I'm owning and attracting all the things, including the husband, who's fine and abundant, into my life.
Gotta be,
yes.
gotta be specificity. Nobody ever talks about specificity. Gotta be specific.
That's what I said.
Man,
You
the
gotta
Lord
show
will
the
bring you
kids.
one. He may not be the right one.
You know, affirmation, like I said, words have power. Life and death lies in the power of the tongue. I've learned the power of affirming what it is you are, not what you're going to get, what you are. You can literally put yourself on a new timeline. I know that I am meant to be a wealthy woman married to a wealthy man. I'm just talking real. I am definitely about abundance, but I realized that his spiritual FICO score got to match his real FICO score. Okay. Yes, I've met some men who had coins, but they were spiritually broken. We ain't doing that either. No, sir. Carry on. I didn't send for you. Do not come here for me. No. So I believe that you can have whatever the fuck you say you desire, that you feel like, not what you say, what you feel like. And I encourage all of us as women to start writing down what that looks like. And I agree with you, my beautiful chocolate goddess, that the list changes. It does change. You start looking a lot deeper and you start seeing that their internal space has to match their physical space. And really and truly, if they're doing that work, there's no way for those two things to be different. So yeah, that's my answer. Alex.
Child, I mean, I don't really know what to say, girl. I mean,
Go ahead, go.
I don't know. Okay.
Words. Struggle through it like I did. Find the words.
Okay. We'll struggle through this together. Okay, so first off, like, I came into my queer identity in my late 20s. So like dating for me now is just completely different. It's just like really exciting. And I'm still like navigating that, what that means for me. But something that I've learned with like my past relationships, like where I am now, is there were oftentimes I was very specific and asked for the thing that I needed or wanted in that moment. And the universe provided, I will say. And once I got it, I realized that I actually wasn't in a place to receive it. because I had to do some work on myself, or I struggled with actually feeling worthy of the thing that I actually wanted or desired. And so it's been nice for me to kind of like take a step back of putting any pressure on myself. And I don't know, like you were saying, V, of just like dating myself and like pouring into myself and getting to know myself as a single person. I think it's like, it's so exciting and fun. And I'm really enjoying that time, the time that I'm spending with myself, because it feels like what I'm doing is preparing myself for the person that I already know is out there. You know what I mean? Like and I don't even know if I believe in like a singular person. I believe in like all these different experiences, because I've been very fortunate in having many people in my life who I have loved and who have loved me. So I'm open to many experiences in the future, but it feels like right now is a time of just like loving on myself, so that when another opportunity of love presents itself, like I'll be ready to receive it. And I won't like push it away, or like things that I've struggled with in the past. I understand them now, and I can also like make a different choice. Yes. So I'm excited about being in that place of just like, I love like loving on me. I love like dating myself, you know?
Mm-hmm. When you say queer, because I know this has been like a really pivotal topic in the past few years specifically. And I feel like for women who are melanated, and these titles are so constricting, how did you realize and how did you come to that point of being able to say out loud without any guilt or shame that you felt you were a queer woman? What is that defined as for you?
So honestly, for me, it was, I fell in love with someone who was not a cis man. Like that is how I came into my queer identity, of like literally falling in love with someone who I think in the past I had never had like any exposure to. So for me, what I think is so beautiful about queerness is it's such like a big umbrella, like you get to define it for yourself. But for me, it just means I don't exclusively like date or love cis straight men, you know, like I can just be in love with whoever I fall in love with. So that's what that experience taught me, is no matter what form it comes in, I just follow like my flow and like my feelings and my heart and where it leads me. So that's literally how I came into it, is just falling in love with a person that I did not expect to fall in love with.
Mm. When you found out you were in love with this person, did you feel any sort of like, my family will judge me or my friends will judge me, or did it just like flow? Was it something you felt unlocked, or was it something that was impressed upon you by just falling in love and being free?
That's a good question. It's so interesting, because I think like when you're in love, there's almost like a little safety net around it where everything else kind of falls away. So I wasn't at some point like really concerned. Like I honestly didn't care about what other people thought, because I just felt so good. Like I knew within myself I was happy, and I was experiencing like a love that I had never experienced before. And this was even before I knew what to call it. Like I didn't classify myself as anything. I just said like, oh, whatever I'm feeling right now feels right. And when it doesn't, I'll be able to like check in with myself and like interrogate that. And I think the safety bubble of like, you know, new love only lasts so long. And then there are the realities of, you know, having conversations with my parents and explaining like what this means, and before I even had a chance to figure out like what it means. So there were moments of fear, But I had to realize, like, people who genuinely love and care about me will just want me to be happy. I can't control how other people view me or define me. It's actually none of my business, and I don't care. So it's like, if I want to only be around people who like want the best for me. And maybe for people who I love, it may take an adjustment period for them to say, okay, like, well, what does that mean for you? Like, this is new for us, like, help me understand. I completely get that. But for people who aren't happy for me because it's like unfamiliar and somehow like unacceptable for them, like, those aren't people that I want in my life anyway. So, you know, there was like tension with like family and fear of, you know, kind of like literally coming out to them as someone new. But I prioritize myself and my happiness, and I kind of like put that aside.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, we support you and love you.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you love, because there's genuine love here for you, however you decide. As long as you're in a healthy place, know that this is judgment free, and all of us are just on a path. So I love you, my wild Aries woman. You're gonna always do something out the box any goddamn way. So I'm just like, oh, okay, that's normal for her. She's just doing her. So I love you. Your goal is still the same.
Oh, you feel
Shari.
Oh, you're breaking
We didn't
up.
forget about you.
No, we're not. We're looking
No,
at you.
I mean, I'm honestly, to be honest, like, that's probably one of the easiest questions for me, because it really all comes, especially I think being in over 29.
29 plus.
Like,
Just in
29,
general, over 29 crew.
you know, 29-ish. So, but I think for me, I've always known like what I like what, especially romantically, like I've always kind of known how I operate, and it wasn't, I always knew it, but I think because I operate so differently than what like main culture really teaches us. And it's literally not by like, I just literally have always, I know what I like and I know what I don't, and I know how I feel. But I think because it was so different than like everyone else, and everyone always made it a point to kind of point out my oddity, that I always was like, oh, well, maybe, you know, I always thought it was something that I wasn't understanding of, like, why like, it made so much sense to me the way that I operate, that I would always go, well, it must be something that I'm not seeing, because everyone's saying, well, no, you should go out and like do as much as you can, and you should go out and like, you know, like, there are certain patterns or certain experiences that you should always have, and that's just the standard. And for me, it'd be like, but if none of that looks like it's leading me towards what I want, why should I do that? Like, if it's something you want, do it. If it brings you what you need, do it. But if it doesn't bring me what I want or need, like, why should I follow that pattern? And I think finally, now being at the age that I'm at, it's me realizing, like, people do a lot of the times the patterns that they're taught to do, and not necessarily because they're doing what's best for them. And for me, it's realizing, like, that's just because people are working on their own stories. I was blessed enough to like really feel comfortable in, to just really be cemented in what I want, especially when it comes to like romance and love. And now I just get to sit in that space. Now I just get to be like, oh, I was right. Like, this does make sense for me. Like, and I could actually just be cool with like it making sense for me. Like, I've never, as I explained, you know, to friends, I've never felt without love. I've been blessed enough to have been born in a space filled with love. So my experiences with love were never tied to romance. I really do put a lot of weight in familial love. I put a lot of weight into friendships. Growing up, I was never jealous of any boys. I was jealous of friendships because I understood that those were the things that I had early on as a kid, before I had crushes on boys, I had friends who like I confided into. I had friends who I would run the playground with, who I would like challenge the boys with. I had friends that I supported and told secrets to. So I was always really, I always felt loved, and I always never had a hole in me that needed to be filled by a boy. Never. It just never, you know. And when I did like a boy, it was because I liked them, not because I felt like I needed to be in a relationship. I was absolutely fine without romantic relationships. But if I liked someone and that was something that I felt I wanted to explore with them, then that was because of them and not because of this idea of what you're supposed to do. But everybody keeps trying to sell you the idea of like, no, you have to prioritize romance relationships. So you have to prioritize like being in a partnership. You don't know love. People interchange the word love and romance so often. They really don't understand it as something being different. And it's so much is. It's so different, you know. It's romance is a role. Love is a decision, is a habit, is a choice, is a whole experience, is a commitment, is a dedication. You know, romances come and they go, you know. Relationships, how we define relationships, come and go, but like love is something that you're working towards. And so for me, it's like, I think now the burden of having to feel like like I have to somehow make love and romance the same thing. I don't feel that burden anymore, because I'm really kind of like, I think it's just time. I've looked at other people who have done that and I've gone, what has that done for you in your life? And is that something I want to replicate? I think that's a really good idea, a really good thing that I hold on to now. When people offered me advice or tell me I should be doing something, or that something I'm doing is weird, I look at them and I go, okay, well, if you're telling me to do this habit, I want to see how it puts back into your life. And if it's not something that I'm looking at and going, I need that in my life, I'm not going to follow it. If you're telling me I need to, you know, have as many boyfriends or date as many guys as I need to, or all of these things to make me happy, but it's not making you happy, or it's not making you even a better person, fuck happiness. If it's not making you a better person, because I've met some people who are wonderful people, and then they get into relationships and they become totally different people because they don't know how to operate in romance. They think it's this whole other machine, and it's like, you know, people are people are people. Every relationship is different, but at the end of the day, like, you are you. Like, who you are doesn't change in relationships. It's just how you express it might be a little different. And so, you know, for me, it's like, you have to do what builds you as a person. And everybody is a different machine, and so everybody requires different parts. And for me, I think that's what, you know, being older is now, is that realizing my parts are just different. And that's cool, because my life is different. I'm crafting a totally different life than everybody else, and that's important, because this is the only life that's going to come in this existence exactly how it is right now. Nobody's going to be able to come back and do it exactly how I can do it. And so this is my gift. It's just be like, just to do it how I do it. And romance falls in there when it does. And there's no pressure to or pressure not to. It's just like, what's going to make me a better me? And who am I going to make better by being in a romantic relationship? And if that's now, cool. If that's next week, awesome. If it's never, fine. That's just not a part of my life. But I don't, again, my priority is love and not romance. So yeah, I'm just comfortable. I guess that's what I'm saying. It's not that I've changed how I see love and romance. It's just now that I understand that my perspective I have to hold on to it because it's honest.
Mm.
That was a lot. Sorry.
No,
Amazing.
it's beautiful. It's really hard pressed to hear somebody articulate that they're free from the stigma that they have to be with someone, that they have to have a romantic partner. And you're correct in that we're taught that, okay, now you've gotten the PhD, now it's time to have babies, or like, if you waited too long, you're limited, or if you're by yourself, you're a fucking spinster if you're over 29, you know. And I want to get into that point before we close out, ladies.
And can I say one thing? Also, that said, I'm a huge romantic. And I think the problem with putting the weight on that is that it strips people of the romance of like finding love and like even making that a priority. I think it's beautiful when people want to get married and want to have kids because that's what they want. Some people don't care about career. They want family. That's their like, you know, that's their goal in life. And I think that is so beautiful, but it's so much more romantic when it's because that's what you're called to do and that's your choice, and not just because of habit, not just because of like cultural habit. You know, let your relationship and your desire to be in love be romantic. Let it be because you want that and not because you feel you're less than without it. Like, let it be something that empowers you, you know, but that can't exist if everyone is just like supposed to do the same thing. Like, let it be something that is for you because you decide it is for you.
Yes. Fulfillment is a frequency. It's not a destination. It's something you
Yeah.
vibrate at.
Oh, that's good. Better write the t-shirt. Come on.
Okay, get the hashtag, girl, get the hashtag. And it's like you let people drink from the cup that, like my girl in the back, runneth over. Like my cup runneth over, motherfucker. Like you get from the saucer, boo boo. You don't get from the goddamn skull. And it has to be filled with wine. And then I let you sip. And I don't feel like I didn't get a sip. I had half of the motherfucking cup is halfway full, not half empty. And I just love that you're so whole that you just show up and you're representing that. Again, we don't have to be in a romantic relationship to feel love. And I agree with you. And about that, we confuse love and romance. Romance is all the frilly, beautiful things that we love in the process and all of the ooey gooey things. But love is a verb. It's an action that you do. Confirmation. It's an action that you actually okay, spirit.
Yes.
You went that car horn went, amen.
Okay. We heard that in Louisiana. Spirit was like, You're waiting for somebody to say it. Okay.
Yeah, Justice went,
They had the church say amen. Exactly.
Heard you.
You know, heard you, received it. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And before we go, I actually wanted us to, oh God, that was just such a good section of this. I actually lost what the fuck I was going to say, but I'm just grateful that we see that. Oh, here's what I wanted to say. Number one, that romance is not something that you have to wait on in relationships. One thing I've been practicing to cultivate love around me is to be in my romance, because I am a romantic person. I agree with you, Cherie.
Mm-hmm.
Romance is like buying yourself roses every Friday.
You know?
Wearing lingerie around the house just because you want to.
You guys.
Doing the Fenty fashion show, whether you're smoking or not.
Hello.
And let me say,
Go ahead,
when
say it.
you turn yourself on, that is the biggest turn on to everyone else around you.
Yes.
Do not let them fool you.
Yes.
They want someone, whoever they is, everybody wants to be around someone who is feeling themselves because that gives them permission to feel themselves. So when you can turn yourself on, you are the sexiest being on the entire fucking planet.
Yes.
You are.
Yes, yes.
Man, it's a whole other vibe.
Agreed. And most people, they don't tap into that level of their sexuality where it's not about anyone else, where it's like my, sexy Fridays or sexy Saturdays. It's like, I call it Ocean Fridays, where it's like, it's just glitz and glamour because, like, I just pour champagne in my bath because I'm like that. And I put rose petals in there because I'm bougie. Like, you do those things as needed, and we don't do that enough. We wait till we get with a person. Now we decide you want to shave your legs. Bitch, it's been 6 months. Like, why you ain't do that for you? You don't like them legs? You want to touch on them? You don't like them? Like, like Chewbacca. You didn't care. You gotta fix it. I think that we should all be working on these things, like, ongoing. What do you ladies think? That the self-care is a part of the sexuality and the healing that we need to address?
Absolutely.
It really is. It really, really. And it's so funny. When I went to grad school, I always dress like a bum. I just always dress like a bum until I'm time to turn it on. And then I put on some red lipstick. And then people are like, oh my God, you got like cheekbones and like them eyebrows ain't as nappy as I thought they were. Cool. So like when I try, I could turn it up. But it's so funny because I used to go, girls oftentimes, not all girls, I shouldn't generalize, but in my experience, I would be around maybe, for example, in grad school, classmates, and like because I came to school dressed like a bum, all of the girls would just assume that I'm not like the attractive, like, not saying that I wasn't, I wasn't someone that they would look at and go like, oh, she's gonna pull. And then when I would go places and I would pull, and like their guys would come looking at me.
Call those
They
hoes
would
out,
be-
Sheree.
No, it's so
No.
real. I would be like, aren't you here with my friend? So like, and they would be so surprised because I'd be like, what you don't get is that I'm full of myself. I dress like a bum because I know I got it like that, and I don't have to put on lipstick to pull that shit.
Hello.
And I go out there, those guys feel that energy, and that's what turns them on. It's not my lipstick, it's not my dress, it's not any of that shit. It's that I know who I am and I live in that space. So while y'all out here trying to pull, I'm sitting back here and letting them come to me. And it works because I know who the fuck I am. And it's like that kind of energy. It really is a vibration. It's not like, everything else is everything else, but like you can wear a nice dress, or it can wear you, and there's a big difference. Like it's, I think making sure that you have your shit together is the biggest for anything, whether it's romantic or business or life or anything. Like you control your pool. So, anchor that shit. Makes a big difference.
Yes, it does. It does. And I'm so grateful that you ladies have shared with the cousins and the family your healing process. I think we're all in that constant space of evolving and growing and peeling away the layers to be the most nude that we can be and finding out exact.
It went on nipples. You're fine. It's PG.
Listen, it's a free space. Nothing
the ratings, man.
Yoga class. I mean,
pulling it in.
Don't get her demonetized.
Don't get me kicked off of YouTube. Don't get me kicked off. But I love you ladies for just being so raw and candid. I think these conversations are so important, and I think we need to continue. I know we need to continue having them and sharing and being vulnerable, because there is incredible strength and vulnerability, and knowing that you are a beautiful mosaic in progress, always adding and evolving and being more colorful as you go, and fragrant. You guys are beautiful and all melony and everything. And I'm just happy to be in your company. And I want to say that I'm grateful and I love all of you for exactly who you are. And I hope, audience, that you will go and tell someone you love around you that you love them for who they are, because that's all we want to be, is accepted for exactly who we are in this very moment. I want to thank you all for joining us. We are living, laughing, and loving stylishly, hoishly, depending on the day. Now it's Friday. Now we're not going to judge. This is after dark, so it's a little hoey, not too much. We kept our clothes on. Cherie.
That's the police pulling off the clothes off the street right now.
Go siren. You know, they didn't have to call the fire department. We kept it. But we're very happy to have met with all of you at the barbecue today, although we're at the fireplace. I hope that you all will grab something cozy, drink something incredible, and remember to stay in your truth. And until we catch you the next time here at the Stylish Collective, ciao, cousins. Bye.